In today's globalized world, Canadians are often seen as some of the most polite, easygoing, and well-traveled people. With their strong passport, they can visit a significant number of countries visa-free, and many nations welcome them with open arms. However, there are a few places where, due to political, diplomatic, or social reasons, Canadians may find it more difficult to visit or may not be as warmly received as they might expect. In 2024, as political climates shift and relations between countries evolve, here are the top 10 countries where Canadians are not as welcome or may face challenges. 1. North Korea. Perhaps the most obvious on the list, North Korea remains a country that is closed off to much of the world, including Canadians. In recent years, travel restrictions have tightened even further due to global political tensions. The Canadian government advises against all travel to North Korea, citing the risk of arbitrary detention and a complete lack of diplomatic presence in the country. North Korea's strict control over who enters and exits the country means that even those who manage to secure a visa face intense scrutiny, and any misstep can lead to serious consequences. Canadians who have attempted to travel there have been subjected to long interrogations, house arrest, and in some cases, imprisonment. 2. Iran. Iran, with its rich cultural heritage and historical significance, has long attracted curious travelers. However, Canadians are not as welcome in Iran in 2024 due to strained diplomatic relations between the two nations. Since Canada closed its embassy in Tehran in 2012 and expelled Iranian diplomats, the relationship between the countries has been tense. As a result, the Iranian government is cautious about allowing Canadians into the country, and those who do visit can face additional bureaucratic hurdles and heightened scrutiny. There have been instances where Canadians have faced long delays in obtaining visas or, in some cases, have been denied entry altogether. For Canadians with dual citizenship, the situation is even more precarious, as Iran does not recognize dual nationality, which could result in detainment or limited consular assistance. 3. Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, a major player in the Middle East, has had an on-and-off relationship with Canada, and in 2024, tensions remain. The diplomatic spat that began in 2018, when Canada criticized Saudi Arabia's human rights record, led to the expulsion of the Canadian ambassador and the freezing of all new trade deals. While diplomatic relations have slowly thawed, Canadians are still not as welcome in Saudi Arabia as they once were. Obtaining a visa can be a lengthy process, and those traveling for non-essential reasons may find it challenging to gain entry. Additionally, the cultural and legal differences can be difficult for some Canadians to navigate, making it a less inviting destination. 4. Russia. In the wake of ongoing geopolitical tensions and Canada's strong stance against Russian actions in Ukraine, Russia has become a much less welcoming place for Canadians in 2024. The Canadian government has imposed sanctions on Russia, and as a result, the Russian government has responded with its own restrictions on Canadian citizens. Canadians attempting to travel to Russia may face visa rejections, lengthy wait times, and even harassment from authorities. While Russia remains a fascinating destination with a rich history and culture, the political climate has made it a challenging place for Canadians to visit. Even those who do obtain a visa may experience increased surveillance or questioning during their stay. 5. China. Canada and China's relationship has been strained in recent years, particularly after the high-profile arrest of Huawei's CFO in Canada and the subsequent detainment of Canadian citizens in China. While tensions have somewhat eased, China remains cautious of Canadians, especially those traveling for diplomatic or business reasons. In 2024, Canadians may find it more difficult to obtain tourist visas, and those who do visit may be subject to heightened security measures. Some Canadians have reported being followed or questioned by authorities, and there have been instances of Canadians being detained for reasons that remain unclear. For dual nationals, the risk is even greater, as China, like Iran, does not recognize dual citizenship, limiting consular access in case of legal troubles. 6. Syria. Syria, a country ravaged by civil war for over a decade, remains one of the most dangerous places in the world to visit. For Canadians, the risk is even higher, as the country's complex political and military situation makes it incredibly difficult to navigate. The Canadian government advises against all travel to Syria, citing risks of terrorism, kidnapping, and arbitrary detention. Even humanitarian workers or journalists who have traveled to Syria have faced serious risks, and the chances of a Canadian tourist being welcomed are slim to none. For those with a particular interest in Middle Eastern culture, neighboring countries like Jordan or Lebanon are much safer alternatives. 7. Venezuela. Venezuela has been in a state of economic collapse and political turmoil for several years, and in 2024, the situation remains dire. While Canadians can technically visit Venezuela, they are far from welcome. The country's political leadership is wary of Western nations, including Canada, which has been outspoken in its criticism of the Venezuelan government. Canadian tourists who do manage to enter the country may face harassment from local authorities, and the general lawlessness in many parts of the country makes it a dangerous destination. With widespread poverty, crime, and corruption, Venezuela is a country that Canadians are advised to avoid, as the risks far outweigh any potential benefits. 8. Yemen. Much like Syria, Yemen has been devastated by years of conflict, making it an inhospitable place for visitors. Canadians are not welcome in Yemen, as the country's ongoing war has created a lawless environment where foreign nationals, particularly Westerners, are at high risk of being kidnapped or killed. The Canadian government has no consular presence in Yemen, and any Canadian who enters the country does so at their own peril. The country's infrastructure is in ruins, and even seasoned travelers are advised to avoid Yemen until the situation improves. 9. Afghanistan. Following the Taliban's takeover of Afghanistan in 2021, the country has become an even more dangerous and unwelcoming place for Canadians. The Taliban regime does not recognize many of the diplomatic norms that Canadians are accustomed to, and the risks for foreign visitors are immense. In 2024, Afghanistan remains a high-risk destination, with the potential for violence, kidnapping, and terrorism at every turn. While humanitarian efforts are ongoing, tourists are far from welcome, and the Canadian government advises against all travel to the country. For those interested in exploring Central Asia, neighboring countries like Uzbekistan or Kyrgyzstan are far safer options. 10. Libya. Libya has been plagued by political instability and armed conflict since the fall of Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. In 2024, the country remains deeply divided, with rival factions vying for control. For Canadians, this means that travel to Libya is not only dangerous, but also unwelcome. The Canadian government has no consular presence in Libya, and any attempt to visit the country comes with a high risk of being caught in the crossfire of the ongoing conflict. While Libya's rich history and beautiful coastline might be tempting for adventurous travelers, the current situation makes it one of the least welcoming places for Canadians in 2024. While Canadians enjoy a strong passport and are generally welcomed around the world, certain countries remain off-limits or pose significant challenges in 2024. Whether due to political tensions, diplomatic spats, or internal conflict, these 10 countries stand out as places where Canadians are not particularly welcome. For those planning their next international adventure, it's important to stay informed about global events and consult travel advisories to ensure a safe and smooth journey. With so many incredible destinations to explore, it's always best to prioritize safety and choose countries where you'll be greeted with open arms. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.